Nope, that's not it. I haven't pressed the button. Add to stage. Here we go. Life is a stage, and so is the way that this studio works. Okay, so what I decided I'm going to do this every time I stream. I'm going to do a dramatic reading of a article from the BAM map, and I will do it in my favorite voice of the night. One thing I guess I don't talk about it a lot. I used to be involved in this. What's up?
Mom wants you to watch the video.
Oh, okay. Sort of, kind of, but I can take her.
She's trying to go to sleep.
She's so cute. Mom is trying to go to sleep, or the baby's trying to go to sleep?
Mom.
She's exhausted. She is exhausted. All right, well, we have a special guest tonight. She is 11 months old, and she loves to press the caps lock button. Yes, she does. Oh, yes, she does. Okay, so she's going to be here. You might hear her whining and crying a little bit as we go, but we will see how far we can get on this stream here. So the very first thing that I wanted to do is wait. I did it again. I hate when I do that. There we go. I put it out there before, like I grabbed the wrong tab and I put it out there before I do my search. Okay. All right, let's see. We want GoFundMe. I have to type a little slower than normal, potentially with the caps lock on, because she loves to grab that button. So last time I talked, there was an update, or I think since the last time I talked, there was an update that the Justice for Sheldon and Friends, who is set up to have the civil proceeding against the American Fork Police Department, this is to finance that, and it actually has a new name. I've said this before, but Tyler, Steven, Sierra, and Sheldon are this is for them. Last time, or a couple days ago, yesterday maybe, Sheldon had said in one of his streams that they had gotten whatever back-end issues they had run into figured out. He said they had to do some updates to the text, and he was back and forth, and he says that's finally figured out, and that it should be that the check should be going in the mail soon. I don't actually know what that means, but I guess they have to do some upfront costs for legal fees. I have no idea. That is all a guess and conjecture, but he did say that in his live stream the other day. And so we know that that's all resolved. We don't know when that's actually going to get sent, but yay. But 134,000. That's pretty awesome. So then the other one I want to check out, because I've been doing these every time, is the Give, Send, Go, which I have in the description here. Exactly. Yeah, you're right. I know, you're right. Okay. It's up to 52,000. I think that's pretty close to where it was the other day. But these are still moving along. This is the Give, Send, Go for Ben Snyder and his legal fees. This was started by Actual Justice Warrior, specifically because he was not in contact with Reckless Ben, and he was able to start it without there being any conflict with any kind of legal proceedings, I think was the reason. I don't know. Something like that. It's probably explained in here, but I'm not going to read it. Anyway. And then I should check out the Brian one as well, just so that I have these documented, because sometimes I come back to these streams to check them, and I found out I should do this every night, or every time I stream, so I have a history of it. And I can go back to a stream and look at the totals. I'm sure there's some other way to see it, but this is a quick way for me to say, hey, what day was that a certain amount? Yeah, you can. That's easy for you to say, kid. You know, this is just going to be the whole show here. This is way more entertainment than anything I have to say. All right. Anyway, this is the response that Reckless Ben wanted to give to the new body cam footage. Goo 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 ga ga ga. A do do do. A da da da. That's all I want to say to you. Since the police were involved, right? All right. Yeah. So this is up to 522,000. That seems to be about where we saw last time. All right, so now that those are out of the way, let's go to the band map, and then I have some things I have to get into. I did it again where I forgot to type it in before I brought it over. Okay, so there has been some updates. The one I want to read is related to the second U-Haul. This is the one I want to read. So let's go ahead and give this one. Yeah. Hi. Yeah, you take the first paragraph. I'll take the second paragraph. All right. So the BAM map updated July 22nd. As read by Stephen with a PH. Fativen. The second U-Haul. BAM produced one rental receipt to explain the night of the takeover and blamed the camper for everything the receipt could not. Brandon Best rented 2 U-Hauls in 3 weeks. The one BAM did not show drove the same road. So on the stream that DFJ just had, there was some conjecture that they had found a picture of said trailer, and that potentially one that was in a driveway of one of the two. What do they call them on that one? I think it's actually DFJ. They called them Tweedledee and Tweedledum or something. But either BB or JJ's property that somebody saw a trailer and they're like, hey, maybe that's it. So on that, there was pictures of that shown. I'm hoping for that to get more confirmation one way or the other. Because it was a picture from, I believe, Google Maps, which I like to play around and explore. But I guess before I do that, see, this is my color commentator. See, this is. I'm not a commentator. I'm an exceptional tater. Get it. All right. Let's keep going. Confirmed 2 U-Haul rentals by Brandon Best 3 weeks apart. Both round trips out of Eugene. From the rental records. Confirmed. BAM's camper account in the CEO's own words on camera, and the reversal from no U-Haul to there was a U-Haul. Refuted. The claim that the U-Haul was rented to tow the camper. Inference. What the 2 trucks were carrying. I wonder. Oh, I guess if I stop reading, I probably should get rid of that voice. I wonder if anything in the lawsuit, like, will this come up in a lawsuit? Will they have like a deposition about the U-Haul? Because that would be really funny. A deposition about the U-Haul, would that involve lawyers? Yes, that would involve lawyers. Wow, I got a lawyer on retainer. Oh, yeah, I think you have a lot of things on retainer. Why does everybody say that? U-Haul. Wait. We'll skip the fine print. When a former Eugene store employee told the investigator, CoffeeZilla, that a U-Haul had come up from the Salem area carrying Star Wars Legos. She's enjoying this. The company had an answer ready. That truck was from October. I do read books, the kids in this voice, by the way. It said, and it carried a different franchisee's inventory. We got this little, what are they called? Fuglies, little Fugly doll. One of them is named Steven with a PH, for Steven. And that's the voice. And they get really upset. And they're like, no, talk normal. It's so funny. That truck on the night of the takeover was something else. The chief operating officer, Matt McNeff, first said there had been no U-Haul at all. Then the story changed, and a camper appeared to explain the truck away. BAM produced the receipt for the November truck. It never produced the receipt for the October one. The site has it now, and the 2 receipts describe the same trip. So that answers a question I had, because people were asking, well, what's the second receipt? Where'd they get it from? And some of the stuff you'll see here, I don't know that I'm going to click through it, but some of the stuff you'll see here are actually reviews that are also confirmation. It's like double confirmation. What the CEO said. Confirmed. Ash White Bash. Oh, you want to do that voice now too? You go for it. You go for it. What that noise came out of the wrong end, kid. You're so proud of yourself. Hi. I should have this on camera. I don't actually know. This is a question I have. So when you do a video on YouTube, if a kid's face is present, you have to turn on kid mode, which has like a whole bunch of restrictions. I don't know what happens if they like run into your live stream. Does that like mess with your reach or something? Yeah, I know. Well, I guess for the purposes of YouTube, that's not really a kid making those voices. That's me. See, I'm a ventriloquist. She doesn't speak. I'm making those noises. All right, let's see. Oh yeah, I'm not reading that. So that story's insane. I'm not reading that story. If you want to read that story, go to the band map. It's really confusing. When you get to the band map, you have to click on the update button to find the latest updates. I think the UI could use some work. Yes, I do. I said do. I do user testing from time to time and UI reviews and whatnot. And part of being a software developer is reviewing UIs and knowing what you're talking about. You have to know what the the hamburger menu, the shish kebab menu, all the little icons with stupid names. You got to know what they are. So the camper is not the site's claim. For those joining, by the way, I know you're coming into the most insane thing ever. I am determined to read because there's so much being missed by not going through the updates, but the updates are very wordy. I did joke with Rose the other day about how one of them, which had shorter wording, sounded a lot like I don't remember what his channel is, but Leonard French, the one lawyer that I early on I complained about because he got something wrong and he was like so confident about it. But wow, you can make that noise too? Yeah. Good job. I'm also for everybody else, everybody joining. I'm also holding a baby. But I'm determined to read one of these, and I figure the only way I'm going to get myself through it with my autism, ADD, whatever the heck it is, squirrel, whatever it is to read it in a funny voice. So that's why this is ridiculous. It's ridiculous for a lot of reasons, actually. It's like one of those little tuning harmonicas. She's helping me get another right pitch here. It's accompanied by the CEO's own telling. A camper trailer was moved to Oregon in advance in anticipation of the takeover. That's concerning. The question is, when did they decide to do the takeover? So when we find out when it was moved, we find a little bit more about when the takeover was anticipated. And the U-Haul existed to show it. Both halves of that come from BAM. The two receipts confirmed. If I think I've said this to Rose, I'll probably say it again. If I could click on confirmed and it could take me to the actual thing, not just a random like Proton drive full of stuff, but like an actual thing that takes me to the thing, that would be awesome. Because then I'd be like, confirmed how? And then you go to the thing. That would be awesome. Bash rented from U-Haul under his own account. Here are the two rentals from the records. I'm not reading those. 17-foot truck and a 15-foot truck. One on October 24th, one roughly 21 days later on November 14th. Eugene to the Salem area and back is roughly 140 miles of highway. The October truck drove about 180 miles. The November truck drove 186. One run the company calls cargo. The other it calls a camper. On the odometer, they are the same trip, a Salem round trip, plus roughly 40 more miles of local driving. I wonder if you could make an estimate of the Oh, we don't have a receipt for gas. So generally, what you're supposed to do, I think some people got this wrong, but you're supposed to return it with the same level of gas that when you left. Otherwise, they like charge you a fill-up fee. At least anytime I've rented one, that's what they tell me. So you wouldn't know how much gas was used unless you decided to accept the fill-up fee, which I don't remember seeing that on the receipts, but hey, maybe it is. And I very easily could just scroll up and click on them. But hey, guess what? I'm holding a baby, so I'm not doing that. What do you think you're doing? Oh, I should get you some baby food. You want some baby food? Yes, you do. I'm gonna go get her some baby food. You're gonna hear me walking away. What do we got here? Oh, good. This one's not miserable. A lot of these are just absolutely miserable. This one has bananas. Apple, banana, raspberry, yogurt. That's actually, all of that sounds pretty good. No kale, no spinach, no mushed up chickpeas and lettuce. Oh boy. Nope, bananas and apples. She does pretty good. These little squeezy things. they learn to drink from a straw, basically. These little squeezy ones. You're technically supposed to put it on a spoon, but I ain't got time for that. Let's see. Eugene Salem. Oh, we already talked about that one. Yeah, so I wonder if there was a possibility to find out how much gas was used. You could estimate the weight. Based on, I mean, I guess it would be a really fuzzy estimate, but hauling stuff uses more gas. In fact, one of the really funny things is when you go looking into it, the weight of a vehicle affects it like way more than the aerodynamics. Like aerodynamics allow you to save stuff. Like you can shave off things, and like a spoiler on a really fast car, you can increase the friction and save a little bit of use, or I don't know what it's called, save some of the energy, perpetuate some of the energy. I don't know, whatever the word would be. But the weight is the primary thing. So the lighter the vehicle, the better the gas mileage. That's just life. And you can theoretically, the reason I know that is from, I read it. So the Mythbusters did a thing, and then I read some studies on it, and the whole thing about putting your gate down on your truck to try to save some gas mileage. That's basically why I care. And whatever the perfect configuration is, I won't argue one way or the other. It still is not significant. It just like don't have heavy stuff in there, and then you have good gas mileage. Put heavy stuff in there, you have bad gas mileage. So, and other things affect it too. But anyway, the weight would be an interesting thing to see. How long something was moved. So if it had a significant weight for 100% of the trip versus a significant weight for 50% of the trip, something like that. That would be a good indicator. Although, like, the thing I don't get about the whole story, I mean, not that it's a silly story. I don't think anybody cares to understand the story, but the thing I don't get about the whole thing is like then the camper stayed there forever. Like he dropped off the camper and left. Like, did he sell it? Where did the camper go? I mean, maybe they're implying that somebody came and got it later, but it's just like, how did it get there and where did it go? It's kind of like, the hardest part about flying is taking off and landing. At least that's what they say. Like, the hardest part about this whole story is how did it get there and where did it go at the end? Not he got it to move a trailer. Like, I don't know, it's kind of being like, oh yeah, so there's an elephant in my yard, but I got a little bullhorn and scared it off and it left. Wait, how did the elephant get in your yard? We're not like, you addressed the elephant in the room, but you didn't ask how it got there. Why do you got an elephant? So I think where did it go is a very important question, but I don't know. It's weird. Nobody cares. All right. A U-Haul does not tow that trailer. Refuted.
The company's explanation for the truck is that the rental pickup is not rated for that particular weight. I have a question about this one actually. I wonder if because this happens to people all the time. If you've got a small trailer, especially like one for like moving yard equipment and whatnot, there's all kinds of rules on it. It's got to have blinkers. It's got to have its own um, a license plate and all kinds of things. And it depends the state. I think some states there's a speed limit and all this. So happens all the time. Somebody gets one of those little garden trailers for their garden equipment, and then doesn't understand. You made it in the trash can. Good job. You just chucked that thing in the trash can. You're growing up. Good job. You want to chuck this one in the trash can? Go for it. No, you want to play with it. All right. Anyway, so it's all too common. People get one of those tiny little trailers for moving their garden equipment, and they don't put the license plate on it, and they get pulled over, and then they have to figure that out later. That just happens all too often. So was this a case of like he planned on moving it with the truck, and then he got pulled over, and then he had to go get he got a warning and he had to go get it. I've seen that happen so many times that's what I wonder why this story is weird. Is that an event that happened in the story? Because that's a possibility. And that he had intended to move it, but he kind of got caught doing something he wasn't supposed to. Whatever. Where I grew up, there was a somewhat famous case where someone didn't secure a trailer and it fell off and killed a family of like 5. As it was flying down the highway, and they just kind of rammed into it. And I don't remember what it was moving, but it was moving something heavy. And so like this kind of stuff got taken seriously, like kind of how you see those like let them work signs. Like at a certain point, every state got ridiculously crazy about signage for construction workers. This is another one of those cases where like a thing happened and the state got ridiculously crazy for signage and rules and talking about in commercials for securing your trailers. So I don't know. I just maybe that's what happened. Okay, that is backwards. A full-size pickup outtows a U-Haul box truck. The box trucks are built to carry cargo in the box, not to pull a heavy travel trailer behind a cutaway van chassis. There's a gross weight measurement on every truck and van. You can check it. They're not all the same. I have no idea what kind of truck it is. There very easily could have been a truck that just didn't have the required gross weight. I don't remember what the abbreviation. I should. It's like gross vehicle weight something. GWV, GVW. I don't know, whatever it is. It's a 4-letter thing. But it's on. You can like open the door. It's like it's there. You can look at that. So I don't know. Not to pull a heavy trailer behind a cutaway van chassis. Speaking of that, those RVs are cutaway vans. So like big moving RVs that are not not the giant ones, but the ones like just below that. Those are generally vans that have been cut into a giant RV. So I don't know. U-Haul's own rental contract prohibits using its trucks to tow a trailer it did not supply. Ooh. And the box trucks are not fitted with the 7-pin connector or the electric brake controller a travel trailer of that size needs. And the November 14th contract rents no towing equipment at all. Whatever the truck was for, the receipt is a cargo receipt, a box, and on October 24, a dolly to load it. Let's see. The camper and who staged it. Hey, there we go. Inference. Yeah, these are like really wordy. That's why I have to force myself to read this. What's up?
What are you doing?
We are reading a story. You want to hear it? Okay. We're reading a story as Steven.
Can I sit on the bench?
Yes, you can sit on the bench.
I thought you were on camera first.
No, I'm not on camera.
Because I was wondering what those little squares are. I thought the squares were the camera.
You thought the squares were the camera?
Yeah.
What squares?
They were like...
The lights?
No, those things.
Those things. No, that's not the camera, you silly head. Alrighty. um, in the DFJ stream, she was making fun of Octomom, and let's just say Octomom is an amateur. Take the company at its word that a camper was. Yes.
You remember when I was 3, you let me go and read a story with you?
Yeah, I know. We like to read stories.
Dad, guess what?
What?
I remember where I was standing.
Where were you standing?
Look, move. I was standing right here.
Yeah.
My head was right on top of that.
Your head was. Oh, you got to stand up there. You're right. Yeah. I don't really do that anymore because I can't like lift you anymore.
Yeah.
When you guys get a little big, you can't stand on the counters anymore. She doesn't like to stand. When she stands a little bit more, maybe she'll stand on the counters. All right.
You remember the time that you put her right here standing up?
Yes, I do.
And she was holding on to this part.
Yeah, that's what she does.
Yeah.
All right, I almost got a word in edgewise here. Take a company. This is the most crazy thing I've ever done. I mean, like one of those little woo, like a slide whistle. Welcome to the crazy world. I'm talking to myself, really. Take the company at its word that a camper was moved up there in anticipation of the takeover. Camper does not stage itself. The two men who carried out the Kaiser takeover and who together owned the Eugene store where the collection later surfaced for sale are Brandon Best and go ahead and take that, and Josh Johnson, named together in BAM's own filings. Best Buy, the company's account, flew in overnight. You're gonna have to take that to the other room because you just knocked over something. Go. I'll pick it up. Just take that to the other room. Five-year-olds, am I right? Where were we? Flew in overnight, so Best did not drive a camper the length of the 2 states. That a camper was pre-positioned in Oregon before the takeover is the company's admission. Who towed it there and in what is a question the company has not answered, and the receipts do not. No U-Haul on either date was equipped to tow it. Oh, really? After confirmed. Bash rented no U-Haul for the next 12 months. His next rental is a year later, in November 2025. Yet, over those 12 months and into 2026, Lego sets matching Brian Manchel's consigned collection went up for sale on the Eugene store's own website. A few at a time, running through May 2026. Whatever moved by the takeover, not in a steady stream afterward. The selling was slow. The moving was not. On camera, BAM's chief executive pronounced the timeline. Absolutely 0 cents. The 2 receipts are the company's own timeline. A box truck with no towing equipment drove the same road as an admitted cargo run 3 weeks apart, but under Brandon Best, and the company showed the public only one of them. You're getting tired, aren't you? Yeah, me too. Me too. You know what you need? You need a toy. Let's find you a toy. Not that thing. Here we go. You got a noisemaker? I do have a noisemaker. That'll make this more fun.
I found the Cinderella door.
You did what? Don't go through their drawers. Get out of her room. Go play.
Right.
Little minion ran up here with a minion suit. All right. La, 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 la. Okay, a box truck with no towing equipment drove the same road as admitted cargo run 3 weeks apart, but under Brandon Best, the company showed to the public only one of them. Bam showed the internet one U-Haul. Oh, okay, so this doesn't have the other reviews. That must be a different article. Its own story needed too, plus a camper it says was waiting in Oregon before the takeover began. Well, I mean, and there's a chance they bought the trailer, but he already had the Eugene store, so it's confusing. It could have always been in a specific spot on some property or something, and they needed to move it. I don't know why they would need to move it. That's such a weird story. Like, it just happened that night that they're like, "Get it off my property," and then he took it to somebody else's place just to leave it there. I don't know. It's not. I mean, if it's like an RV, it's not uncommon for this to show up like in a Walmart parking lot for a period of time, but you would expect he moves it a few days later, like he stays there for the night or for 2 nights or something. No, you cannot hit my spit shield. I need a spit shield for this one. You cannot hit my spit shield with that toy. I mean, you can, but you shouldn't. Where did I stop? Oregon. The truck was not show is a cargo truck that drove the same road on the same account 3 weeks earlier on the day the company says its man went to look the store over. What the truck reached and what happened to the collection after it got to Eugene is a separate record. That the collection arrived at the Eugene store all at once, that its resale dates cannot be backdated past the store's own server timestamps, that the specific sets match Brian Mansell's consigned collection, and that Brandon Best and Josh Johnson took the Kaiser store over and owned the Eugene store where it surfaced, are walked set by set, date by date in the Kaiser file. What's that? What is the Kaiser file? Who actually took over the Kaiser store? I'm not going to read through this, but I did want to point out that in one of the body cam footages, the Ammon, the CEO, says that the corporate owned the store for a little while. I don't remember what words, like a moment or a period of time, a while, whatever word he says. He implies that they owned it for a period of time, which they've been like wishy-washy on. So I've kind of heard it different ways, but the whole thing with Kai saying takes on all the consignment, like that implies that corporate took it on. So it's not like that. The buck stops there, doesn't it? I mean, it's not where the and there actually was a statement made. Let me see if I can find it. So I did go looking for this, and I was really surprised at what was there. I give bricksandminifigs.com a lot of traffic every day because I'm just checking for stuff. Well, let's just see if there's a new one. Nope. Okay, I think this is on here. Because some of it's on that newsroom section and some of it's not. So I think it's in the timeline. I don't know what here has been updated since the first day. I did actually go looking once, but I have a suspicion that this doesn't, like, what gets put into the Wayback Machine isn't 100% archived, because I have a feeling it makes a call to something. Now, I thought they solved that, but I don't know. Because what was weird is when I went looking for the archived version, it just felt like some of the things that were there on that day were corrected, and my memory could be fuzzy, but it just doesn't seem like it captured the correct one on the June 4th. Where is this? So, Bam Corporate owed Crystal nothing. Jeez. Personally asked to speak with him. If an agreement was reached, she would proceed smoothly, and Bam Corporate would not pursue the full. Close to a week to prepare. At no point in October. Oh, it must be here. First mention of consignment. That's what I was looking for. Recorded Ring doorbell footage that Crystal herself later accessed and shared publicly, which is first and only time Brandon and later Brandon heard the word consignment from her. Crystal mentioned needing to print receipts to pay customer. The response from a BAM worker, not what his actual title was, a BAM worker. That's a business matter. Brandon will take on the business. He takes on all that. That's not an acknowledgement of the. Oh, this is what I was looking for. Not an acknowledgement of the Mansell collection. It was a representative hearing this for the first time during a chaotic handover and incorrectly assuming it was an authorized arrangement by BAM. Crystal shared. So this is the Bricks and Minifigs corporate website. This is their timeline. I don't think I properly introduced it when I was clicking through to it. She's almost hitting me in the head. That's why I'm kind of wincing in between sentences here. Yeah, keep playing with the toy. Just please don't bean me in the noggin here. Significant amount of footage from earlier. Hold on, I'm trying to find while having this thing swung at my head. Okay, yeah, just hit that thing. Good job. Where is this? There's a statement here about. I'm just going to have to read through it. Let me see if she'll let me sit down. That might simplify things here. All right. Information was not disclosed. Okay, consistent with the document value. So there's a statement here about not acknowledging that it's a consignment, or not acknowledging the consignment. I'm just trying to find that. So a single word about the consignment. I have the word. So this is better. Assuming it was an authorized arrangement. But this is so stupid. Because later we determine it's unauthorized, it's no longer belongs to him. This is such a... it's hard to read this without getting angry. Assuming it was an authorized arrangement by BAM. But then, now that it's unauthorized, we get to steal the Legos. Like, that's such a dumb statement. Why even include that? All right, Crystal shared this footage publicly, but only a portion of it. A significant amount of footage from earlier. Writing based on like they obtained keys for the first time stores went down. All the stupid statements. Okay. Changed hands. Brian to come to the store. We met with confusion. Brandon confirms not a party to. Josh was present. Okay, so when Brian comes in, both Brandon and Josh are at the store. So the timeline here is this is a few days later. And we know that within 2 weeks he had counsel reaching out. Brian Sinister. Okay, where is this? No reason blah blah for ownership. Therefore, it's not accepted. Oh, you know what? It's actually from their Facebook page. Okay, I don't even know where to get started there. So on their Facebook page, there's a comment about how they didn't acknowledge the consignment. They acknowledged that they needed to return the products. I'll have to find it to say it exactly, which I may not be able to do quickly. But Yeah, I ended up just checking to see if those blog posts show up on their Facebook. And that's actually let me do this real quick before I get too far. So I scrolled down. I didn't see any of the blog posts that people get upset about, but I did find some like what looked like Facebook exclusive posts. I think it's this one. There's no. Because there's an entire brand that forced to process a mess. Yada. So creativity. This article seeks to establish. This might match one of the blog posts. I don't remember what one of the first ones says because when that first statement was put out, it just seemed like gobbledygook. So like how could you commit it to memory if it's just garbage? But this might be it. Okay, we offered to return these items, though we had no legal obligation to do. It's got to be here. So, possess the store due to the former owner's default. Bam was unaware of the unauthorized and undisclosed consignment and was not a party of such. However, can resolve such themselves. Our goal is to ensure. Oh, it might be in the FAQs at the end. Let's see. Corporate lawfully possesses the defaulting store. Just one's moved offside. Former friends. Okay, corporate took on the consignment liability. This got to be the one. We acknowledge a corporate support employee verbally said the new owner would take all that consignment liability when the store ownership changed hands. The employee wasn't making any formal agreement or committing to the company legally. The statement's intention was that any consignment inventory in the store would go back to its rightful owner, not that we were taking any agreements on ourselves. So according to this statement, I know it took me forever to get here. According to this specific statement, this is Facebook. I think this is related to or close to their very first public statement. They're saying, okay, we don't take on the consignment, but we want to return it. Oh, okay. The statement's intention was that any consignment inventory in the store would go back to its rightful owner. Okay, so if that was the intention of the statement, then why hasn't that happened? Like, okay, we don't acknowledge the contract, but we committed we committed to giving the stuff back. Like, I don't know. The story keeps changing, and that's part of what makes everybody upset. But anyway, I stumbled on this the other day when I was looking through some stuff. And this one was kind of crazy. I think that this has probably been hashed out in the past, but just rediscovering it with current understanding was very crazy. All right. Well, at this point, we need to go back through and start talking about stuff that I posted on Twitter. Let's go scroll the Twitter feed. The most exciting part of the show. Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, I got a text message. All right. I might be competing with other streamers at the moment. Let's see. Where is my... I made a joke about DOS, and I'm getting all these eggheads who don't get the joke. That's really funny. Okay, yeah, reverse order. So the other day, some famous channel I've never heard of before with some guy named Andrew Callahan? That's got to be Callahan and the G is silent. Califan. From Channel 5, never heard of this in my life, but apparently it's super popular. Said that he had done an interview with Courtney Love and Reckless Ben together. You can see them there. He's got his funny shirt on that everybody loves with all the faces on it. Must be the... was that Eric Clapton's band? No, that was Cream. Who did Faces? Rod Stewart? It was Rod Stewart Faces? The Rod Stewart shirt. So he did this clickbaity You can see I'm just not a fan of this kind of stuff. He did this really clickbaity thing on Instagram where he's like, everybody click into my Instagram post and answer, and whoever has the top post, that's the interview I'm going to release. And so it was between this and a totally political thing that like I can't imagine anybody wants to see because it's just two very unlikable people. So I have no idea why he released the one he released. But what that means is this one's going to be delayed. My guess is based on the timeline of other videos, it's going to be about 2 weeks. But hopefully not. Hopefully like tomorrow. We'll see. So anyway. You know, right, kid? You're so funny. You're so funny. You're so funny. All right. So, your face. You're a sweetie pie. All right. Anyway, this Channel 5 is going to release the other one. We don't know when we're going to actually get that. There was a second Brandon Buckingham quote interview. It was more of like a documentary style thing where he went over a bunch of stuff that he did with Reckless Ben and a bunch of videos that came up for it. It was pretty much an expose on Reckless Ben's career as a YouTuber, but it also touched on what happened before. So they talked about his slacklining and him living on the beach and all that. So that's an interesting little watch. What got my attention right away is he has animals, including pigs and goats. We've seen the snakes. He had the snakes in another video, but anyway, yeah, we've seen all that. And let's see. Oh, also, I just had I thought it was funny that one of the videos just kind of accidentally had Bam Margera in it, and I think it's. Did you come for her? All right. Good luck. Bye.
We're gonna go get them.
The baby's gone. They grow up so fast. Okay, so it has him in it, has Bam in it. I think it's funny that it's also Bam, but I think it's BJC that had done previous stuff on Bam Margera. So I didn't know the connection was there. I didn't know that they had done a video together. And it from the video that Brandon Buckingham had done, Buckingham, like I'm probably just going to keep say Buckingham instead. The video that Buckingham did, he it was almost like it was by accident. They were doing a thing and they just both happened to be doing the same thing. Reckless Ben stuff is always like subversive, so it's like the clip that they show where this guy says we can do whatever we want as long as we don't light it on fire, and then it's a clip of Reckless Ben going, "You can't tell me what to do," and they throw a firework. Like it's always, you know, contrarian or subversive or something like that. And they explain that. He explains it in this. So if you are interested in his history, there's this documentary that came out that was released today. This has been shown in a couple places, but so there was that's pretty close. Let me do that first. There was a slideshow that I guess was accidentally left public on the BAM website that the BAM map had gotten a hold of. I don't know what the story was. There's probably an article on it. They got a hold of it, and it has a bunch of information on like the promises they make to prospective people. So the perspectives get this thing. The perspectives get this prospectus. I don't know if it's actually prospectus, but it's a funny word. Anyway. Oh, sorry. I am sick, so just bear with me here. So this, it's got all kinds of information on it. LUS had gone through it quite extensively. I think he did yesterday and today. Had gone through it, and one of the things he talked about was, you know, their estimates on earnings don't seem to keep people afloat, and all these concerns that he had. Echo Base Network also looked at it so the person who runs the BAM map had tried to reach out to them in a chat, and it took a few efforts, and I actually chatted to them to get this link to them, so they were able to get this slideshow and look through it. And from Echo Base Network's perspective, They were comparing it to franchise disclosure documents, and they were concerned that some companies were showing up in here and some other details were showing up in this slideshow that didn't match that year's a disclosure document. So they went through it, and no, I don't know if those are a year behind. So like you'd also want to compare it to the next one, but he did say he compared it to several. So anyway, this this is interesting, and it's got some kind of insider information. And one of the things they point out is, I guess you're expected to have signed an NDA before you see this. So the fact that this leaked is probably not intentional. They probably left it open on a public website link, and somebody just happened to click on it, or they might have left it on a page. And it did answer a couple of my questions on like how they do versioning of documents, which is more, to me, is more relevant to the handbook that they use as like a supplement to the franchise agreement. So versioning that would be super important, because then I would have a question of, are you signing de facto the one at the time that you sign your franchise agreement, or are you expected to sign them every year? And if they don't have you sign them every year, then I could see that being a giant like hole. I've had companies where like every so often you have to like renew your certain things. Obviously certifications you'd have to renew, but one place I worked, it had to do with the way that they did bidding on projects, but you had to renew your employee contract every so often. Which it basically, if you work at a company where employees are part of your assets, which is weird to say, I don't know if that's official term, that may not be allowed that way, but that's the way I view it. So a company that may have people that go with product if it's purchased. There are companies that go through that more often than you'd think. So that's my understanding, that you sign those employment contracts. You have to re-up security things. So parts of your employee contract, especially like cybersecurity certifications and stuff, you'll do every year. You might even re-sign job descriptions and stuff as things change. I guess it really depends on the company, but I would expect something like this would require a new signature every time they change it. But I don't know. It is what it is. But that versioning answers a question for me. Like, how do they do versioning, and if you had one of those, how would you know what year, and then how would you know what changed? And if you had two, how would you compare them? Those kinds of questions are what I've got. And so let's go back up to this. So Legally Mime made a version of this, and it's pretty funny. And I do want to click in because there's something here that is so funny to me. Okay, well, yeah, here's the slide deck. This was funny to me that there was Bougie Roswell is going to be my new thief next time I make a D&D thief. That's a good name. But this is kind of making fun of different aspects that have been called out. Like I've been asking about, when did they start using this real estate company, which is mentioned in the podcast that I'm going to talk about in a moment. And so I think it's called Morrow Hill is the one that's listed there. And the slides are actually from 2022. So this one making fun of it, it's just where I'm going to stop and talk about this. But I guess they've been doing the real estate thing for a while. I was wondering, like, is it something they just started and, they're really late to the game, or, whatever. But it looks like they've been using a real estate company of some sort for a while. And then, yeah, this thing's funny. But what I really want to do is show this. That background is so funny. Now, there's a bunch of stuff here that's funny. So the dossier has a bunch of different blog updates as this thing's being updated. So there's a bunch of funny articles that are being posted here. And I believe, oh, that's funny.
I believe if you click on Tattle, something happens, and guess what? It does. I'm gonna go ahead and refresh and do it again. Oh no! So my understanding, is that the guy who updates Legally Mime reached out to find out the exact colors of the bird for this picture. So I think this is the exact colors of Tattle, which appears to be a dark green and a light green with really dark spots. I wonder if that was the case, because I've read that. I've even talked to him about it. I don't know if it was this specifically or another one, but yeah, that's funny. So you click on that and they let the bird go. Wait, what did that say? Do not tattle. Oh, I totally missed that. That's funny. If he does, it'll be a tattletale. I've used that joke 100 times. Okay, so yeah, Legally Mime is funny. Let's keep going. So I've been looking at this. I'm interested. I like the Warner Brothers cartoons, even the ones that everybody hates. Even the Porky Pig Saves the World, or I don't know, whichever one that one's called. I enjoyed it. This one I'm really excited for. I haven't seen who plays the villain. I know that it's here somewhere, but I just haven't seen him. So if you do locate him and you can see him, then let me know, because I haven't seen him. I'm I'm doing that joke no justice with the amount of times I've said it. Okay, anyway. Oh, that's what I said. The corporate dossier. There's more memes coming by. A lot of funny ones. I'm not going to go through those. I did find this funny. There's a thing called Tenet, and I'm wondering if that really takes people back in time. More memes. Okay, so this is the most important thing. I should have got to this earlier. I buried the lead today. I hate burying the lead, but that's what I did. I'll have to dig it back up and reattach it to that cow. All right, so yesterday, no, not yesterday, a few days ago, I'm 99% sure it was like the exact same day that the body cam released. So, Bad Timing Award. I don't have the camera on, I can't show it, but it's the Bad Timing Award is the unicorn, the cursed unicorn tape dispenser. The Bad Timing Award goes to On Brand, Slightly Off Topic, because they released this podcast right when everybody was reviewing all the body cam footage. I'm very careful with this thing. I don't want to get cut. It is cursed. Unfortunately, I know I'm not gonna say that out loud. I'm not gonna be cocky because I'll get cut. It'll fly across the room and cut me somehow. Anyway, let's see. So yeah, they went on a podcast. It seems to have been recorded before April, probably some point in March, but there's not a definitive date. The only reason I know that is because there is a portion of it where one of them talks about something happening in April. He actually think he says it a couple times. So in April, this thing will happen. It'll happen in April. And I think I might have captured that in the little transcript I did. Since this is a podcast, people aren't really playing it on their streams, so they don't want to get copyright struck. But me, who is not playing videos for my stream, and I typically just kind of live chat things, haha, that's not a problem, because I wrote it all down, because that's what I do. And I'm really happy some people have gone through and read through this, because there's a lot of like really good information in here. About 90% of it is an advertisement for the brand, which I guess it should be. I mean, I shouldn't complain about that. That's literally what it should be. But it's all a bunch of softball questions from somebody talking about franchise companies and wants to get to know the inner workings a bit and how it started. And so everything is pretty much a big advertisement for them, which is what this is all about. But they answer a lot of questions. There's some that are like really enlightening. And again, this probably happened sometime in March or earlier, probably. So, and then it was just released later. The other thing to bring up, actually, let me see if I can find it, about that whole timing. What's it called? I will find it. Is this the one? Yeah, here we go. So this podcast slash stream, I don't know what it's going to be, got delayed again. I believe this was originally, so this is one, I don't know who this is with, 1851? I don't see the 1851 franchise. So this is some kind of podcast of some sort, which does highlight how YouTube doesn't show thumbs downs anymore. You can call that a good idea or a bad idea, however you wish. Anyways, this was meant to, I think, be the beginning of this month. I think was the original time. It was somewhere around then. They pushed it back to the end of July, which was funny to me because that's when the poly market for whether or not they're going to step down ends. So I thought it was funny that was going to be on that date, and it was like, oh, maybe that's a message. But it's been moved to the end of September, so back by a couple months. So there's a there's a future interview coming up. And actually, up to this point, I thought it was with both of them, but I guess it's just with Ammon. But yeah, this one has been graffitied about a bajillion times, and I don't know if they keep clearing the chat or what. But this thing keeps getting graffitied, and they might be waiting until the graffiti stops before they actually do the interview. But I can tell you, it will be a lot of views. if they just, suck it up and do it now, they'll get a lot of views. But just to point out, it looks like delaying the release of some of these podcasts and these interviews is intentional at the moment. So I don't know if this On Brand Slightly Off Topic podcast being delayed or being released, months later is part of them deciding, let's just push it back until a better date to release, because that's really important to find the right day to release your content. And so there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't know if this was pushed back or if this was always the intended time, because a lot of podcasts, they do weekly stuff, and I paused because I just noticed where all the baby spittle went. Yuck. They get all these guests together and you do all these recordings, and they have a release schedule. So this may have been when it was always scheduled to be released. This specific one on July 22nd, or it might have been pushed back. Who knows? All I'm really saying is I don't read too much into it. But it's, for many reasons, including possibly trying to find the right time, it's understandable for this to be released way after it was recorded. Plus the Brandon Buckingham interviews with Reckless Ben also were done that way. They were recorded long before they were released. All right. So this one was the first thing I saw. So when this was posted about that day, and I actually saw it, and I couldn't get the audio to play, and I thought it was a joke because, as you can see, the name is spelled wrong. So it was talked about on Reddit, and nobody really paid much attention to it. Didn't get a whole lot of conversation. I went in to see what it was, to see if it was available to watch, and as far as I could tell, it was only on Spotify at the time, and it was just broken, like flat out broken, as if they delisted it or something. And so it wasn't really till the next day that I listened to it. And part of the reason I did that is they misspelled their last name, and I don't know if that was intentional. This might have been this might have been a mistake. This is just a misspelling. No, they had all this time to spell check it, but whatever. And I haven't heard anyone say whether they know or not. There is nothing in the contents of it that explains why this is misspelled. I thought maybe this is a thing that they normally do, because I personally make fun of names. That's it. Every time there's two halves to that. One, it's so I remember people's names, because this is going to be hard to hear. Everybody is bad at remembering names
The people who become good at it put in the effort. If you don't put in the effort, you're not going to remember people's names. So one of the ways I remember people's names is by making jokes out of their names. But or I'll have a thing that like there's an account that I follow on Twitter, Mr. Mac. Every time I see him, it's either Mary Mac or Mac Truck, and it was actually intentional. He told me Mac Truck was intentional, or Big Mac, or I have some kind of thing to bring the name together. So being someone that will misspell a name because it's funny, and I will put it in as a joke, and I'll pretend like it's spelled right the whole time through to see if anybody gets the joke. Like I don't know if this was intentional. This could have been like every time they put in a little joke to see if anybody sees it. So yeah, I have no idea why it's misspelled. I'm only spending a long time on that because that's something significant to me. Because I would totally do this, and then like, what are you talking about? It's spelled right. And then they're like, no, it's not. And I'm like, ha ha ha, gotcha. So anyway, so it was on Spotify, and I've said apply. That's supposed to say Apple. I should have applied myself better, apparently. Apple Podcasts. I watched it on Apple, or listened to it on Apple Podcasts, specifically because Spotify was still giving me issues. I think it's because I have to log out and log back in, but I didn't want to go through that hassle. If anybody who is in any way associated with a streaming platform, Paramount Plus, anything, ever hears this, I want to tell you this right now. We will watch things on the free channels, no matter how many ads there are, because it's easier than logging into your stupid stuff. Most recently, Paramount Plus, like just last night, broke like 15 times when I was trying to turn something on. And it was such a hassle, I ended up just clicking through to one of the free services. If it is a hassle to get to your thing, nobody is going to spend the time to log in or fix their account. It's just, that's life. So save yourself the trouble and don't have these problems. Because if somebody sees a barrier entry, they're going to go to someone else. So I watched an Apple Podcast because I didn't have to log in. Anyway, or listen to it on Apple Podcasts. So I listened to it there, and partway in, I realized I wasn't going to live tweet it. I mean, it's not really live tweeting because it wasn't live. I was watching it the next day, but after I heard this thing right about timestamp 9 minutes and 20 seconds, I highly encourage anybody who is reading through this, listen to the section yourself, because there is so much inflection put into what they say that it's impossible to capture. There are some things where it's impossible to tell what they really mean because you can't tell if they're being sarcastic or not. But that's not the majority of it. The majority of it is that if they have a sign of exasperation, even though it doesn't change the meaning of the words, it does have meaning to the sentence. So I could not capture that. I actually did try to put in a little bit of like commentary on that, and then I removed it because I was just going to misinterpret something or take away from it. So I wanted to make it as accurate as possible. These transcriptions here are they're only missing what I just said, ums and uhs. I only removed the stutterings and the filler words. Everything is word for word. And I tried 100% not to skip sentences. There's one or two here where the host led into the question in the weirdest possible way. And so I just cut to the part where he asked the question and I skipped the lead in. So those are the only things is the host I messed with because he had a lot of trouble asking the questions. But I did not mess with any of the things that were responses. I tried to capture them exact without filler words. And that's it. So ums and ahs and potentially stutters are gone. When I say stutters, there's a couple times where they're like, like they might say yes, yes, yes. Like I only put one yes. And I think they stuttered on and. They did stutter quite a bit, but I think it's just because they were thinking. So anyway, this is as exact word for word as possible without the stutters and the ums. One of the things that shocked me, and that's why I started here, was I did not expect to hear initially it was absorbed into the other business that we were running. What is the other business that they were running?
I'm gonna pull up a thing. Now that I'm sitting and I'm not holding a baby, this should be a lot easier. We're gonna go to the real one, not the fake one. I think they updated their website. Hi there. Oh wait, stupid chatbot. Okay. So Legally Mine had put out a statement. I think this has since been updated. Recently, our organization has been. Oh no, I should do a voice. Recently, our organization has received some inquiries about a connection between several prior employees of Legally Mine and the Bricks and Minifig organization, which has recently been receiving high attention in social media and the press. Maybe this is exact. It might not have been updated. We can explicitly confirm that Legally Mine has no involvement with Bricks and Minifigs or with the matters being covered in the press. Any past relationships that may have existed with the former employees were ended more than 5 years ago. Since that time, there has been no connection or involvement with Legally Mine or with any of its current owners or employees. Okay, so they're saying, our only involvement was past employees, but they were running the company. When they say running, I believe they were also CEO, COO, or something like that. They were also in charge. They had a stake. I don't know what the history of them owning a portion of it was. I know there's some legal filings back and forth on that, and there's some payouts related to that, and that eventually led to the tax, the garnishment for the unpaid taxes, blah, blah, blah. There's a whole story there. I won't get into it. It's just, I did not expect them to mention that. So they don't mention it by name, but they do say it was absorbed into the other business. That's been a question. Did Legally Mine own any portion of Bricks and Minifigs? According to this statement, they probably did own a portion. That might have been some sort of parent company that owned a certain amount. Now, if the Legally Mine statement, I guess I can just leave these side by side, is true, then what? They got out of it? They sold all their portions of it? And now it's only owned by them? I don't know. I literally, I don't think there's any way to know right now. But according to this statement in this podcast, and this is Matt answering, he actually answered most of these. It seems like he has the more complete answers, and that Eamon's answers were either shorter or very complicated. But Matt seemed to have very complete and direct answers. So most of the things I transcribed were Matt. Anyway, I did not expect them to say the company they were running at the time, which appears to be Legally Mine, it was absorbed into that. And we didn't take on the full stock either. That's another shocking thing. There was the CFO who stayed on board as well, who ran the Boise, Idaho store. And Reed is still with us today and as part of the board and our CFO. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there. They're clearly talking about Reed Brimhall. I don't think there's any intention not to say his full name. I think that it might have just been a shorthand on his part. He probably wanted to say it. But anyway, so he stayed on the board as well as ran the store. So he's on the board. That was a question I had early on. Like, they have a board? And a lot of people were asking when this all first started, like, why don't they have a board of directors? Why isn't the board of directors going, you idiots, do something? So they have a board. Okay, so I know that people have figured that out, but I'm saying this is them saying it directly. And they didn't take on the full stock either. There was this CFO who stayed on. So this implies that they're saying that Reed Brimhall has a lot of stock. I don't know. There's been a question, is it majority or not? But I don't know. And then eventually, though, as we were growing, we split it out from the other business. Okay, so they took it to Legally Mine, shouldn't be an owner anymore. We decided to stick here with Bricks and Minifigs and put our full effort into this. So there is, I think people would dispute this. We decided to stick here because there's some paperwork out there, which I actually went looking for today, where they're, quote, assigned to Bricks and Minifigs. I couldn't find it. I found some other things around it, but supposedly there is a document out there somewhere where their dad said, "You guys go to Bricks and Minifigs and leave Legally Mine alone." Basically, that's supposedly what happened in there. So, and why I say that is I think it was BJC that was like, assigned. What does assigned mean? And she went like digging through things to try to figure out what that means. So anyway, I think people would find issue with we decided to stick here. Potentially, they were like told, "Hey, you guys can have that," and that's part of why it split. I don't know, but there would be some dispute on that. But anyway, this is in their words. That's where this gets significant. Is that this is in their words, and it's probably somewhere in March that this recording happens. So this is them saying that in that time prior to the videos being released, the Reckless Ben videos being released. So I think there's some significance there in that timeline. Oh, and there's been some discussion on how many locations have opened, and the host says more than 150 since 2023. And Matt, he doesn't really say yes. He just says, "I think that's true," and I think he kind of hems and haws. He's like, "I'd like to look it up," something like that. But he starts to like answer a different question, so I just captured what was in this question. Let's see. Ammon talks about coming from a family of 8 children. Amateurs. The host asks if his siblings are all involved in the company. Okay, this is where it gets weird. So Ammon is saying about his siblings. So he's one of 8. And the host says, "Are all of your siblings involved?" And he says, "Not all of them. A couple of them are." So a couple of them would not include himself in the context of how it was said. So it sounds like it's him and Matt and someone else. And I don't know to what capacity. My guess is that one of their siblings owns a franchise. That's my guess. But that's complete conjecture. I have no idea. But that was kind of surprising to me because one of the things that happened with the body cam footage is they found a family member that's like, I don't have anything to do with their business dealings. So it sounds like, based on that and the body cam footage of their dad with the glass being broken incident, he also said he doesn't have anything to do with them anymore, or it doesn't have anything to do with the company anymore. So it kind of implied that they're the only 2 there, but they implied now that there is another one. I have no idea. It's just was an unexpected statement. So in the next thing, I am not making fun of the superpower thing. I think the superpower thing is awesome. When you're doing reviews, it's really helpful to tell people what their superpowers are, because they're going to improve mostly on the thing that they're already good at. That they have people get better at the things they're good at faster than they get better at the things they're bad at. Now going from 0 to 1 is a huge jump. That there's a big thing there. But they won't go to 1 to 2 very easily. But in something they're good at, they'll go from 34 to 61 really fast. So that's a weird thing. It's a thing about employees. So I'm a big fan of the superpower methodology on employee reviews and helping people improve. So I'm not making fun of that in any way. But anyway, the host asks about superpower, or asks about superpowers. They start talking about how they work good together. And then he's like, "Okay, well, what's your individual superpowers?" That's what the host is getting at. And their superpower together, as they describe it, is basically that Ammon is very strategic and thinks ahead, and Matt is very meticulous and handles the now. They said they work really well together. That was what they were trying to get at. And he's like, "Okay, well, what's your individual superpower?" And this is where Ammon says, he tends to think 5 steps ahead, and that's a really positive thing. Because of that, he doesn't see people as humans, and because of that, and he's trying to really not trying to say that in a bad way. And I want to say that his inflection in this was never malicious, but it is a shocking thing to say. So I do encourage people to listen to this part. I should have got a timestamp. I didn't. But anyway, I tend to try to think 5 steps ahead, and that's a really positive thing, I think.
But because of that, I tend not to see people as humans. And because of that, and not in a bad way, I tend to think of people more as output machines. Oh, the output machine. He keeps saying the output machines. Matt is very good at helping me see people more as individuals and not just as the output machines. And I'm other than telling jokes, I'm a fairly robotic person. I think I understand what he was trying to say, but I know how people are reading this, and it's a shocking thing to say. Like, it's one thing to say I am a robot, because that's something I say a lot. Like, I'm more of a robot when it comes to this. I will say that. It's a different thing to say, you people, I put on the sunglasses and you're all aliens. It's weird. That is a shocking thing to say. So regardless of the fact that he never put any negative connotation in the way that he said it, it's still a shocking thing to say. And I can see why people are like, whoa, that's crazy. And I don't know. It does seem like the kind of thing you could lead a speech with, and everybody would pay attention. I don't think any of you are people. You guys are just output machines. And everybody goes, oh, and he goes, but in a good way. And then he leads on with a speech. I mean, I could see that being spun in a positive way, but it is a shocking statement. So this one was weird to me. This is when I say inflection, this part, I could not figure out the inflection. The host says, does the Lego company love or hate the two of you? And he actually does ask the question in a weird way, and then he stops, and then he asks it in a plain way. Does the Lego company love or hate the two of you? And he says, we have a fantastic relationship with the Lego company. It's so weird how he says it. I can't tell if it's sarcastic. I can't tell if it's enthusiastic. I could not tell. He says it in such a weird way. I could not make heads or tails of it. But one of the things that has been touted in previous interviews is that Ammon has said that they did a lot of work. That there was some kind of miscommunication with the former ownership, and they did a lot of work to get Lego to fix that and get the Lego company or whatever it's called, the Lego group, to work with them. So I could see it being an enthusiastic statement, but it was so weird the way he said that. I could not capture it, and I would not have done it justice by saying possibly sarcastically, but maybe excited. I guess I could have put weird inflection, said in a weird way. I guess I could have wrote that down, but I didn't want to be unfair. This was another part. So that, the host kind of doubles down on the question, and Matt says, I think it's very, very healthy. He stutters for a bit. Starting in April, we will be distributing all new in-box Lego to our entire brand. I'll explain in a second. So we have that direct distribution network or relationship. This one was weird. I couldn't tell if he was saying or. It sounded like So we have that direct distribution network relationship. So I think direct distribution relationship is what he intended to say. I think that's what was intended with the Lego group. Beginning in April, which is fantastic, we got a weekly meeting with them and he corrects himself, with our rep. He says more, but it's basically he's talking about the rep. That they have a good relationship with their rep. It was so full of stuttering and whatnot. I didn't capture any more of this, but it's basically just he continues to say they have a good relationship with the rep. But where I want to stop for a second. So right before this came out, Total AFOL, which stands for Adult Fans of Lego, his YouTube channel did a interview with Tavea. I don't know if I'm saying that right, Tavea Marconi. And she was explaining how they needed warehousing to help with their distribution. And this is a contradictory statement to what she was describing, that they have a problem. And he's saying, oh, no, we're going to be distributing all new in-box Lego to our entire brand. There is concern that people have been making, and this goes way outside of the reckless spend stuff, that one of the reasons they're not supporting the franchisees is that they're sending the best stuff to certain stores, corporate run stores, and everybody else doesn't get that same support. And this is one of those cases where I would immediately have the question of like, well, are you getting better at distribution? Because from what I'm hearing, from interviews here and there and statements here and there and all the little like, we heard from a current franchisee who doesn't want to be named, like those kinds of statements, that the distribution is an issue that the current franchisees are struggling with. So this stands out to me, and it's part of why I captured this. The other reason I captured it is that the statement, I actually think it's very, very healthy. It's actually, the way he says that is very weird. It's like, I actually think it's very, very healthy. Like, I don't know. It's another one of those ones where it could be sarcastic or it could be enthusiastic. It's said in a weird way. But he follows it up with what he is very excited about. So he probably did not mean that in a sarcastic way. Yeah, talk about Lego themed tattoos. And I don't think the host knew that they like are like super Mormon. I don't know. Because they kind of danced around this a little bit, and they're like, well, one of our franchisees has a really cool tattoo. Like they dance around it a bit. Oh yeah, this one franchisee has this one, and you can measure Legos on it because it's exact. Which was kind of a cool statement, but they're like, in the Portland area, what are the chances they would pick Oregon? Like, this is not far off of where is it in this picture? It's not super far off from where the Kaiser store is. Yeah, I think it's just below here. I think it's just the south of Canby. But I did find out it's clearly one of these three, because that dot there, that's Vancouver, Washington. So, and I think that's the Columbia River. But if you pass that river, you'd end up in Washington. So there's really three: there's Gresham, Portland, and I forget what this is, another little community near Portland. So it's one of these three, I bet, is what he's talking about. But it was weird because there are stories about Canby and there are stories about Kaiser. So it would be a bit weird if they were referring to people in those two locations. Okay. Then he makes a joke, and okay, I have to read it. He says, "As I let you guys go," which was a terrible pun. That was not well. But he's like, "Do you guys have any Lego jokes?" And Ammon says he does not have any. And Matt says, "Did you hear about the opening of the new Bricks and Minifig store? They had people lining up for blocks." And that was pretty funny. And I figured the best thing I could do is totally steal that joke. So I used it in a work meeting. Although I didn't say Bricks and Minifig, I said Lego store, because nobody knows what that is. I have a thing I want to do. I started reaching out to people today. Yeah, this is a good time to talk about it. So people who are getting into this story, who are you and why are you here, is a important question. It's not just a, why does it matter? I'm just watching a video. Like, why does it matter? It's not that. It's actually an important question, because when it comes to certain topics, your background is important one way or another. So the way I usually discuss this, it's usually a religious conversation, but the way I discuss this is like very crass. Well, not crass, very crass, but it's a little crass. And it's, if you want to talk about addiction and you want to hear a story about addiction, then you talk to someone who's been addicted. And that person gets up and tells a story of how they got clean. But it does not discount the person who never went through the struggles. The person who never went through the struggles has some practical advice too. But they are two different people. And most people will not listen to person number two. I'm going to close this door real quick. So, can't have a lot of kids without them fighting. Let's see. So, you got two groups of people, and people are going to follow them for different, or going to listen to them one way or another for different reasons. Somebody who has never made a mistake has some practical advice on how to avoid the mistake, but they may not have direct advice or any direct experience, and so they can be discounted pretty easily. Someone who has made the mistake and learned from the mistake, they have direct practical advice, but they don't know how to how to avoid the mistake to begin with. So you've got different reasons to pay attention to both groups. Well, we're actually in a position with 3 groups. And those are people who knew what it was, what Bricks and Minifigs was, but never shopped there. People who, and would never shop there. Because they're like, you could categorize that however you want, but there's people that are like, oh, they're like the GameStop of Lego. I'm never going there. Or people that are like, well, I just don't like Legos. Like, I'm not going there. Like, there's various reasons why somebody knows what it is and will never go there. People who knows what it is and are former customers or current customers, which you could split into 2 groups, I could see. And then people who have never heard of it. And of the people who have never heard of it, who will go and who won't go. Like, so there are, but those 3 prongs are important. Heard of it, never goes. Heard of it, does go, or never heard of it. Those are 3 important survey categories. And I think for the people who are invested in this, anybody who used to shop there is important, because when Bricks and Minifigs makes a statement, they're talking to you. People who have never shopped there and will never shop there, they're not talking to you. People who have never heard of it, regardless of whether you will or will not go, they're sort of talking to you. But when we read these big statements, when they put out this press release and it's a complete disaster, it's not a disaster for people who know what it is and still shop there. It's only a disaster for the other 2 groups. And that leads us into another thing. And Last Relic did a stream last night, and he made some really good points. But one of the points he was making is he actually thinks the brand is going to survive all this. A lot of people think it's going to go down in flames, but he thinks it's going to survive this. And that's actually happened before, where Google does something horrible, and then a year later, everybody forgets about it. And then Google does something horrible, and then a year later, everybody forgets about it. And then Google does something horrible. And I'm not going to pick on anyone else. It's going to be Google because it's them. Facebook does, I will pick on them. Facebook does this too. Facebook does something unconscionably evil, and then everybody forgets about it a year later. And then they do something unconscionably evil, and then everybody forgets about it next year. Google does the same thing. It's weird because we're kind of in this phase where like it's like the default. I wasn't going to talk about this. I didn't even think to say this on stream. I just was really annoyed with something today, so I had one of those like moments where I got really mad in the shower. I was like, "This is what I would say." So one of the things I have noticed is when it comes to like working with third parties, small companies. I'm thinking of a specific third party, but I don't want to mention it. But small companies follow the rules, and big companies try to get away with BS all the time. And one that's been in the news is like the Apple Store, where big companies can break all the rules and they won't be delisted, but any small company can not break a rule but be suspected of breaking a rule and then banned forever. So they get, they play favorites with big companies. Big companies don't care. But I think it's to the point that big companies are okay with having people who don't have the correct morals. And I don't mean that as they're evil. I mean, like, you put someone, I don't know how I can talk about this. There is a company that is or is not related to real estate who may or may not have hired someone who may or may not have used AI to may or may not have recreated redlining by cheating. By like, technically it's not bad, but that's only because the AI is skirting the rules. And somebody who may or may not be running a stream right now was like, this is BS, we can't do this. And the person who may or may not have done AI to do that thing may or may not have been a foreigner, who may or may not have come from a country that doesn't have the same the same opinion of freedoms as the U.S. does. Allegedly. But I'm noticing it more and more, that there is a line in the sand that shouldn't be crossed, and big companies are like, okay, hiring people that cross the line, and small companies are not. But even in basic interactions, I can give a concrete Google example. 100% Google did this. Data annotation is a thing, and data annotation is, in this context, is you are helping train an AI model by validating results or feeding it information, basically. And data annotation is a job, and it pays a certain rate. And you can get cheaper for certain tasks and more expensive for complex tasks. If you have huge specialized domain knowledge and it's needed, it pays extremely well. Google tried to cheat the system and take people's reporting and use it to train data. And they didn't want to pay for the data annotation. Then that is a crappy, bad thing that they did. And people figured it out and got upset with them. And I'm not going to go into the specifics, but it's a thing that happened not that long ago. And big companies like Google are just okay. Like if a small company was like, I'm going to trick my users into crowdfunding something or crowdsourcing something that would normally pay well to get free labor. If a small company did that, they would be under. But, big companies do crap like that. So anyway, I say that just because I witnessed it today. I put in a report into the third-party app I'm talking about. And I was like, this is not okay. This is definitely a violation of TOS. And it's crazy because it was this huge company that did it. And you think they would know better. But anyway, very frustrating. Anyway, sorry, I just was really mad about that. I think that we expect more out of big companies, and we used to have a history of like, you go to a big company, like you go to a small grocery store, they're not going to take your melted ice cream back because it was your fault. But you go to Walmart and it was supposed to be no questions asked. Well, they're peeling that back because they don't care if people are mad at them anymore. And that's changing. And that's something that keeps happening. So this idea that the brand, the Bricks and Minifigs brand, will survive is kind of built. And I'm not sure how I feel one way or the other. But anyway, the last relic made some really good points about all that. But in those categories, and I'm far afield, I'm getting back. In those three categories, when they screw up, they still live in a world where all press is good press, where name recognition beats out negative stories. And for example, right now, I don't like Coca-Cola. I have problems with I for a very long time I didn't have this, but I have problems with like drinking your calories and making people feel like it's okay. I think that that's just a bad disservice that happens to people, and I don't like that. And Coca-Cola, to a large extent, there's just other things I'm mad about, but to a large extent, I'm just not happy with Coca-Cola. But I've said it so many times, I'm doing them a favor because name recognition. Now everybody's thirsty, and so that's that's I think one of the things that they might be banking on, that now everybody who didn't know who they were now knows who they are. And maybe some people will go in, and maybe some of them will spend money, and that's what they're banking on. So that's an interesting little piece there, that even though there's those three groups, and there might be within those groups people that will never ever shop there and will be upset with this for the rest of their lives, they're banking on that name recognition, I think. Now there is a thing that no news is good news, and that's true in a lot of ways. It'd probably be better for them if none of this ever came out, but that doesn't matter. It's still name recognition, and they're still getting it. And it's funny because there's politicians that rely on this, that a whole bunch of bad news, still now people know who they are. If you don't know who someone is, you're not going to click their little box. Like, I don't know. That could be the next Mussolini. I'm not going to click on that. But now that you know their name, you might now have some reason to click on it. There's some local election happening in California not that long ago where a somewhat famous actor was running for it, and he was the only one with name recognition. And that was a significant advantage. So anyway, name recognition is huge. So Technically, all press is good press, and their disaster releases are still for that group. But maybe someday someone who's never heard of them now hears of them and gives them a shot. Like, what's funny is I can actually tell a personal story about that, because the town that I grew up in just recently got one, and one of my kids didn't know what it was, and so they went in to check it out. And not that like I'm forbidding them from ever going in there, but I like talking about this, so I talk to them about it. And so one of them was like, "Hey, you know that crappy company you keep talking about? I went inside." And that's the name recognition I'm talking about. So anyway, so I changed it to a Lego store for the purpose of my version of the joke. But this idea that they're getting name recognition out of all this I think that's something they're banking on. So the other things they mentioned, this was a completely there wasn't anything interesting in this statement, but they mentioned Darren Hicks, and I know people have been talking about that name. I don't know why, because I kind of tune out. I don't know who that is, but yeah, that name has been mentioned quite a bit. And then shout out to Egregious Darkly, who there's a swear word in his name. Oh, come on. Who has made a joke about picking out a shotgun. That's funny. Okay, so let's go back. I just wanted to read through that and then give that important context that some of those were said with a really weird connotation. And so it is worth listening to it to get the relevant section that you want to talk about. Anything we haven't talked about? So Sheldon, talked about his GoFundMe. I already talked about that. Oh, and he put my thing on. He put my thing on his stream, which was awesome. A few others have as well. So thanks everybody. Thanks DFJ. Thanks Sheldon. I want to say they went over it on Toy Bounty Hunters, maybe. I don't remember. Somebody else did. But I've gotten people to look at my thing. I'm famous now. Yay. Okay, so there was a funny joke in his chat. It wasn't exactly written this way. Or no, he said this. Yeah. It wasn't said exactly this way, but basically Eamon sees 5 steps ahead, but then he shoots himself in his foot, and now he can't take any more steps. It's pretty funny. Okay, so there was a video with a current franchisee. I think it was on Facebook is where he made the statement where he's basically talking about, this is what I can and cannot say. And he's like, we think about this all the time. We're disappointed, but we can't really talk about it. And there's a difference between what he can say publicly and privately, but that he will talk to customers. And that was really fascinating. And I wonder how many franchisees would talk to their customers if they brought it up. Now the employees probably wouldn't, but maybe the owner would. So that would be interesting, to have a chat with one of them. But one thing that people have been saying, and I think this is a really important part, to talk about those 3 categories. I think he only wants to talk to people who know what a Bricks and Minifigs is and is going to shop there. I don't think he wants to tell his story to anybody who's not going to shop there. So it's going to be a limited set, and don't try to shoehorn yourself into one of those categories, because that would just be annoying. Let's see. Tyler put out a new video. I talked about this interview. This interview is really cool. I have not got a chance to actually live tweet through it, but I did listen to it. It took me a few tries to get through, because there's a bunch of sections I wanted to re-listen to. But there's a ton of really interesting information that covers what I am interested in. And a lot of that is just the inner workings of, struggles with growing. That's what I've been wondering about this whole time. So I am really happy about a lot of that. Let's see. There's been talk of 9 former franchisees that went through some bad situations. Potentially Matty Appleseed found a 10th. He said that he reached out to a whole lot of them and heard back from another. I don't remember exactly what he said about it, but he didn't provide a lot of information in the video other than he found them and what process he went through to find an additional name. And then
I think that's it. I know that I was complaining about Instagram soon after my most recent stream. Oh yeah, Sheldon has another unrelated stream. I feel like I talked about this already. The Kaiser location showed up on Google again, but it's all negative reviews. And I think I couldn't tell because I don't know how to tell. But I think it went up as like a landmark, not as a store. But it doesn't have any of the previous positive reviews. It only has negative reviews. Oh, there's been a lot of talk about the former manager of the Kaiser store. So you've got BB and JJ, and then before that you've got the Gormans. Then before that you've got the owners that people don't talk about a whole lot. Those owners got sued by corporate, and so people have been going over that lawsuit. And it turns out that the reason they got sued is that they wanted to sell to their manager. Their manager backed out, eventually started a hobby store of his own, which I guess it's mostly Legos, but I've heard it does other hobby stuff as well. Excuse me. And so they also sued him, which was weird. So there's been some commentary on that. I guess Echo Base Network got an interview with him. So that's really cool. They only showed a small amount of it, but Bricks and Beyond will show up. If you go into that region near Kaiser and search for Bricks and Minifigs, Bricks and Beyond will also show up. But is down the street several blocks. In fact, I think there's a picture of it. So it's 2 City, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, like 15 blocks away ish. But yeah, it's on that same road. There's a different plaza for Bricks and Beyond. Anything else? Yeah, I think that's it. I think other than that, there's the new body cam footage, and a lot of people have been oh no, there's a little bit more. A lot of people have been going over the new body cam footage. I really wanted to go over Matt's section of it, but I won't be able to do that tonight. But basically, there's one where Matt calls in relation to a threatening call that he got, and he says a lot of things that are concerning. One of the ones that really, really got to me was he talks about, well, there's a handful of things, but the thing that I keep getting caught up on is they definitely made the gag order to also affect the Gormans, and he says it again in that. He said that in his a couple of Brickheads interview, but he repeats it in that body cam footage, and that's a thing that keeps sticking out to me. Oh, I see a chat here. Oh, on Rumble, woohoo! Yeah, Rumble's where the party's at. Maria Hargis. Oh, I saw that you did tag me earlier. I haven't got a chance to review that. But I saw a guy that I followed for a while respond to it, so I'm excited to look through it. I just haven't got to look at that yet. But yeah, thank you for joining, and I'm having a lot of fun. Although with the baby not with me, she left a while ago to go to bed, and now it's less fun because I don't have somebody swinging a toy at my head anymore. But anyway, okay, so I think really the last thing to talk through is the Fergal Family channel did an interview with Tyler's mom. I actually thought she said she interviewed the rest of the family, and I think she touched on that she did talk to them, but this was the only interview that she recorded. But yeah, it was really interesting, and there's some pieces there that have really changed the way I look at Tyler's channel, because part of what they talk about is he used to be really boring. He used to deliver auto parts between two little auto stores. And one of the funny parts is that Tyler's mom was a fan of Frugal Family, and so they kind of connected over this. And the other thing is they're both ex-Mormon, and they talk about that just a little bit. And one of the things Frugal Family's been doing, especially in her shorts, is talking about things that are around in American Fork or other communities that people don't expect, like great coffee shops. And she's like, you would expect there wouldn't be coffee shops, but there's great coffee shops. So it is a little interesting. I think a lot of people are really like hungry for the next Grand Theft Lego update, but there's still some interesting things that come in here and there that are definitely worth hearing. And then, yeah, okay. I'm actually going to talk about this, and then I think we're going to end it here. So Crunch Labs, Reckless Ben had this, or I don't know if maybe it was on Victor's Instagram, but somebody had this video of Reckless Ben at Crunch Labs, and I didn't know what that was, so I had to look it up. And then I saw a toy in the store called Crunch Labs. So I still am not 100% sure what they are. They seem to be some kind of like fun with with technology channel where they just kind of do fun experiments. But I couldn't really tell heads or tails of it, or why they would have a cocktail party. I don't know. But here's Ben in shorts. I thought that was pretty funny. But it was weird today. I saw a toy in the Walmart, and I was like, "Wait, what the heck?" Now I know a little bit more about Crunch Labs. Is they make toys? Question mark. But see, Frugal Family was there at the AFPD protest. Yeah, I watched her live stream. I pretty much watched the whole thing from beginning to end. I only missed a tiny bit of it. But that's another thing I live tweeted. And what's really funny about that is I wasn't at my computer. So I was live tweeting it from my phone, and I was struggling to get little screenshots here and there. So they're actually lower quality than they normally would have been. So all the little live tweeting I did, I had lower quality screenshots, to the point that there's actually a couple things that I had not noticed going into it. Like when Jerome was there with his fake beard, there was some stuff that you could see, and I couldn't, like the guy from it's not Latter Daily Saints. That was one of the podcasts. There's another podcast that he was involved in, but one of the guys from the podcast who helped organize the whole thing was in a bunch of those pictures, but it was too like low quality, and I couldn't tell. And the pictures I took, it was even worse. So anyway, but thanks for talking about that. That was a lot of fun. Being able to follow. It was like the biggest community event that we had up to that point of people watching this, and it's so cool getting to know all the folks in the chat. That's what I was talking about earlier. I want to talk to more people in the chat about what of those three prongs they belong in, and how they got involved in the story. Because I think there's a certain amount of people that have shopped at a BAM that got involved, but I think there's way more people that had never heard of it before, and this is their first experience with that brand. And sure, no, all press is good press, except that everybody's first experience with your brand is this. That's not good. So anyway, all right. Well, with that, I'm sure there's a handful of things here and there. I'm sure really cool things are happening right now. That while I've been streaming, some new stuff comes out, because that happens every single night. But I'm going to go ahead and call it here. Thank you, everybody, for joining along. Thanks for putting up with the little baby. She's adorable. Never mind. You didn't put up with her. I'm sure that was fun. I think it would be fun to have the kids kind of run in on camera and do something funny. But I am worried about how YouTube handles that. I'm sure Rumble is fine with it, because I know they don't have like a kid setting. They have similar rules, but they're just like always on. It's not like with YouTube you have to click the button and then they're on. But anyway, yeah, that's a good point. So Maria says she did not know about this brand. I did not either. I shop at Target. That's how I get Legos. But I don't normally buy it. Sometimes I'll buy them from Walmart. It's usually we're on a special trip. That's usually where I buy them. But they're expensive, and I got a lot of kids, so I don't buy a whole lot of them. But anyway, well, anyway, I'm gonna call it here. Thank you, everybody, for joining along, and we will have way more things to talk about as the days go on. I feel like we're gonna get a big trial update next week, because I know that there was a due date coming up in the civil trial, and then beginning of August there's a bunch of other deadlines on the criminal trials, and I guess we'll see where those all go. And I'm sure there's more just crazy twists and turns, because nobody saw the body cam coming this week. Like, that was just out of left field. And it has reignited the story. More people are streaming on this and making videos on this than you could possibly imagine now.
But all right, awesome. I will call it here. Thanks for tuning in. If you stream, if you make videos, give Rumble a try. If you need a place to back up your videos, in case your YouTube ever goes down, because as I've made fun of Google this entire time, I will make fun of it again. They will, they kind of have a history of ending people's channels without warning. It's a good place to have a backup and keep your community, have a place for them to go and to continue to support you. And with that, good night.